Chapter 6, Section 1, A Nation Declares Independence. Why it matters. After King George rejected the Olive Branch Petition, thousands of British troops were sent to the colonies. As the fighting continued, American patriots called for independence. A call for independence. When the year 1776 began, few colonists could have predicted what lay ahead. Most colonists still hoped for a peaceful end to the quarrel with Britain. Colonists divided. Both patriots and loyalists were in a minority at the start of 1776. Many colonists were in the middle, with no strong feelings about the dispute with Britain. Even within the Continental Congress, support for independence was limited to about one-third of the delegates. Patriots such as John Adams found it hard to win others to the cause of independence. Adams complained that loyalists used the prospect of independence as a way to frighten people into giving up the struggle. Common sense. In January 1776, a 50-page pamphlet titled Common Sense was published in Philadelphia. The pamphlet stimulated broad support for independence. The author, Thomas Paine, called King George III a royal brute. Paine ridiculed the very idea of rule by kings. Americans, he said, would be far better off if they governed themselves. Paine's strong logic and powerful words inspired people in all the colonies. Some 500,000 copies of the pamphlet were sold between January and July of 1776. George Washington wrote, "Common sense is working a powerful change in the minds of men." Virginia's resolution. Paine's pamphlet increased support for independence within the Continental Congress. In May 1776, Virginia authorized its delegates to support independence. Soon after, Richard Henry Lee introduced a resolution or formal statement of opinion to Congress. The Virginia Resolution proclaimed that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. Before voting on Lee's resolution, Congress appointed a committee to draw up a statement stating the reasons for separation from Britain. Thomas Jefferson, a 33-year-old delegate from Virginia, was given the task of composing the Declaration. Highly educated but shy, Jefferson spoke little in Congress. However, he was known for his graceful writing style. In the heat of the Philadelphia summer, Jefferson struggled to find the words that would convince Americans and the world of the rightness of independence. The result was masterful. John Adams and Benjamin Franklin, who were also on the committee, suggested only minor changes. The Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence is a brilliant piece of writing. Building on the ideas of the Enlightenment, it uses step-by-step logic to explain why the colonists wanted to break away from British rule. The Declaration begins with a preamble or introduction. It says that a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that Americans explain why they are breaking away from Britain. Natural rights. The Declaration is divided into three main sections. The first section states some general ideas about society and government. We hold these truths to be self-evident or obvious to all. First among these truths is that all men are created equal. Jefferson goes on to state that everyone is endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. This statement is based on John Locke's idea about natural rights. Like Locke, Jefferson goes on to state that governments are created in order to protect people's rights. And like Locke, He concludes that if a government violates those rights, the people have a right to abolish their government and create another. List of grievances. Jefferson's next task was to prove that the British government had, in fact, violated the rights of the colonists. So the next section details a long list of specific grievances or formal complaints against King George III of England. Many grievances accuse the king of ignoring rights that English citizens had enjoyed since the time of the Magna Carta. For example, the Magna Carta had established trial by jury as a basic right. The Declaration thus condemns the king for depriving us in many cases of trial by jury. The Declaration also charges the king with imposing taxes on us without consent, another violation of traditional English rights. Time after time, says the Declaration, colonists have appealed to the king, but King George has ignored the petitions they sent. He must therefore be considered unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Dissolving the bonds. After stating the basic principle that the people have a right to abolish an unjust government and showing that the king has violated the rights of the colonists, the Declaration reaches a logical conclusion. It asserts that the colonies are free and independent states and that all political connection between them and the state of Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. The document ends with a solemn pledge. With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The serious tone shows that to the patriots, declaring independence was a serious and deeply felt step. Impact of the Declaration. When Congress met to debate Lee's resolution, it still was not certain that they would declare independence, but on July 4, 1776, Congress approved the Declaration of Independence. Since then, Americans have celebrated July 4th as Independence Day. The actual signing of the Declaration took place on August 2nd. According to tradition, as he stepped up to sign the document, Benjamin Franklin commented, "We must all hang together, or most assuredly, we shall all hang separately." Indeed, for the delegates who signed, the personal risk was great. If captured by the British, they could be hanged. The Declaration of Independence changed the nature of the Revolution. No longer were the patriots fighting for fair treatment from Britain. Now they were fighting to create a new nation. There was no turning back. Since then, the Declaration of Independence has become one of the world's enduring documents. The statement that all men are created equal still inspires Americans and people in other nations. In 1776, these words applied primarily to white male property owners. Over the years, Americans worked hard to expand the notion of equality and natural rights.